Welcome back. We are back at Marshall Gold. We'll just wait for everybody to sign in. Hello. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're gonna wait just a little bit longer, see if anybody else joins us. Hi. So let me know in the comments who joined us for our first one today. Who came at our 10 o'clock to meet our mountain men? Put it in the comments. Let me know if you guys joined us already today. Welcome back. So my name again is Holly Thane. I'm the interpreter one here at Marshall Gold Discovery State Historic Park. So we met our mountain men at 10 o'clock this morning, and now it is 11 o'clock, and we are going to meet Mrs. Talbot, our Gold Rush merchant. So I'm going to wait just another couple seconds. I see our numbers jumping, so we'll give everybody just a couple more seconds to log on. Hi, everybody. All right, so Mrs. Talbot is our Gold Rush merchant, and she's going to tell us a little bit about selling things, making things here during the Gold Rush. So I'm going to turn this around so that we can all see her. Good morning, Miss Talbot.
Good morning, Mrs. Thane. How are you today?
I'm doing great on this lovely fall morning.
I haven't seen you in for a while. You haven't come into town.
I haven't. I've been out in the hills for a while.
Well, I have some new goods in on the latest shipment. If you want to take a look over here, I put them on a table for you so you can see them.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll take a little sneak peek over here. So what kind of things do we have in front of us?
Well, these are all things that I just got in yesterday. Let's see, where should we start? Oh, in the upper left corner is tobacco.
So this one right here.
Yes, it's two kinds. We have chewing tobacco, which is the one that looks, the square one that looks like a piece of chocolate cake. That's chewing tobacco. The one that's in a twist is pipe tobacco. So a lot of the miners are, unfortunately, they crave the tobacco. So we have to carry it for them. I wish we didn't, but you know, I have to provide what the traffic wants. Next to that is the cone-shaped thing. That is brown sugar. That's Mexican sugar. That's really the only kind of sugar we can get here. We can't get the fine white sugar that you could get if you were in San Francisco, for example, because it's just more, it's cheaper. Brown sugar is cheaper. It costs about a third of the price of the white sugar. And next to the brown sugar is flour, wheat flour, which we're very happy to finally have some more of. There was a great absence of flour for quite a while. In front of the flour, a little bit to the right, is the cheese. I finally got some cheese in. That's just a slice of the wheel of cheese that we finally got in. Next to the cheese is bacon. That's just a small piece. I have a much larger one, of course, in the wagon. And next to the bacon is green coffee beans. Now you know that you have to buy them green, because if you buy tobacco, if you buy beans that have already been roasted, they're going to go stale. When they're green, they stay fresh a lot longer. And next to the coffee is Mexican chocolate. We finally got a little bit of Mexican chocolate in.
And now, are these some of your best sellers that you have?
The flour certainly is, as is the cheese and the bacon. Those are big sellers. A lot of the miners like to buy the coffee. They buy it by the bag full, and then they take it back to their camps and they roast what they want, as much as they think they'll need for a couple of days. And they don't have coffee grinders, unfortunately, but a lot of them will just take the back end of a hammer and just pound the beans into small enough pieces that they can actually make coffee out of. Other things that have been selling quite well, contrary to what the mountain men would tell you is we do have soap. They say they won't use it, but I know there are many men who do like having their soap. This is tallow soap, and so it doesn't smell as fancy as the lavender soap you might have gotten if you were in the East. A lot of dried apples. People are buying dried apples as quickly as I can get them because they want to make their apple pies. And of course salt. Salt it's a necessity. We have to have salt because a lot of the men, when they go hunting, they get, for example, a deer or some other kind of animal, and the only way to preserve it and keep it for a long time is with salt. Olives I haven't had olives for quite a long time. I finally have some olives, and these are also very popular because it's something that it's almost a delicacy. People really want to have their olives, and pickles, of course. Everyone wants their pickles because pickles are a good source of salt that we need in our bodies anyway. And also, we've learned over the years that pickles and olives and other things that have salt in them, they're good for preventing scurvy because you need that fresh goods like pickles or olives that are in salt, because then you get the nutrients in those things that keep you from getting scurvy. We've had a lot of problems in the last couple of years of men who are just out living off the land, and they get scurvy, and their teeth get loose, they can't walk, they really fall apart. So they need to have a little bit of salt, something in their diet. You can't get much in the way of fresh food. There isn't really enough farming going on in California yet. I mean, it's only been a year or so since gold was discovered, but more people are interested in coming up here and trying to find that get-rich-quick money off the ground than digging ditches and digging holes in crops, planting their crops. So we're getting a few things. Finally got some potatoes. Good to see some good potatoes and some onions. Now these are things that travel well, so they're easy to bring up to the mines, but things that are harder to get up here, like any kind of fresh vegetables, we just can't get them because it's not available. But this is very special. We got some pumpkins, and my husband told me he bought these off a ship that had come from the Sandwich Islands, which some people call Hawaii. They're growing pumpkins and potatoes and other things there that can be shipped across the ocean, and we can get them here in California. So, and has your husband been doing well in his mining, Mrs. Thane?
Not right now.
I'm sorry to hear that because, as you know, I only take gold dust, gold nuggets, or solid coin. If you have solid coin, I'll be happy to take that to put against your bill. But I've had men come in from, just gotten here from the East, and they try to give me this paper money. They tell me that I can use this in any bar, any bank. I can just take it to, this one is from New London, Connecticut. Now, it's going to cost me a whole lot more than this $3 to go all the way to New London, Connecticut to get my $3 back. So I said, well, you can give it to me, but all it's good for really is just, I can use it as a marker in my book. It's not good for anything, not even the paper that it's printed on. So if you could get me some gold coin, silver coin even, we'll take that. But nothing in the way of paper money.
I do have a question from one of our classes. They're asking, what is your best seller?
Oh, well, don't tell my men I had this, but whiskey. The men are starved for any kind of alcoholic beverage. Now, I do stock it because people want it, but I try not to advertise that I have it because bad things happen when the mountain men have had a lot to drink.
Are there any other uses for the whiskey?
Well, you could use it to clean out a wound, for example. Men say it's good for snake bite. I wouldn't know about that. But it really has no other use other than to make you forget your cares, which I suppose is the purpose.
And where do you get your supplies?
Well, right now, most of our supplies are coming up from Sacramento City. My husband just came up yesterday with a wagon load from Sacramento City, which is where all the new things that I showed you earlier came from. And what happens is that the ships come up from the San Francisco Bay, the ships come up on the American and Sacramento rivers to Sacramento City, and then they'll have an auction. They'll list in the newspaper all the things that they have on that ship, and they'll have an auction for however many barrels of flour they have, or how many sacks of potatoes they have, or the other things that they might have on those ships. And then the merchants, like my husband, buy those goods, and then they take them to their stores. Now, we have a store in Sacramento City, but he leaves the majority there and brings up here what he can get in a wagon.
How long does it take for supplies to reach Coloma?
Well, by wagon, it takes a good 2 days because the road's not the best. And once it starts raining, it's going to take even longer. In fact, once it starts raining, we pretty much run out of everything because the road becomes a muddy mess and no one can get through. I've heard that there are men who are running mule trains. They'll pack the mules with whatever they think that the mining communities are going to need, and they'll bring it up here. But they charge, would you believe, they charge 75 cents a pound for what they bring in on those mules. Now that means that I have to take that 75 cents a pound and add it to the prices of what I'm already selling. So instead of paying $2 a pound for green coffee beans, you'd be paying $3 a pound for green coffee beans.
Wow, such
So
a difference.
It goes, the amount that you have to put out to get things goes up so much.
Do you sell any tools or cooking utensils?
I don't sell cooking utensils because most everyone has their own. We do sell gold pans and buckets, and my husband can bring up shovels and pickaxes and things like that. So next time he goes down to Sacramento City, I give him a list. These are all the things people have been asking for, and then he'll bring them up here and we'll have them available. So it may take him 2 days to get down, a couple of days to buy all these things or get them out of our store there, and then it'll take him another 2 days to get here. So it'll take like a week for something to come in.
Wow.
But it can be acquired.
And then could you give us a couple of examples of maybe a cost of a potato or a cost of an onion or maybe the slice of cheese?
Well, the potatoes are 50 cents a pound, and so are the onions. This pumpkin, this weighs about 2 pounds, so this would be $1. The cheese, now, I know I have a slice out there just to tempt you, but I would really prefer to sell the whole wheel because the cheese comes in wheels. So I got 2 of these, one that I've already started slicing, but this wheel of cheese, it's rather heavy. It weighs about 10 pounds. So for this whole wheel of cheese, which would certainly keep you in cheese for a long time, I'd charge an ounce of gold for this. And an ounce is, right now, the cost for an ounce of gold is $16. So that little slice there is less than $1 worth.
And how long will that wheel of cheese last, do you think?
Well, it's probably a good 6-8 months old now, just from when it was made until it got here. It was probably made in New England, say Massachusetts or someplace like that where they have lots of dairy cattle. And then it was shipped around the Horn to get to California and then brought upriver. So it's probably maybe even a year old, and it's still perfectly good, as you can see by that slice.
It looks delicious.
Tastes good too.
Do you have any favorite items that you sell?
Well, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. Well, seeing as how I do some sewing for the miners, mending and such things, I always am looking for good fabrics. So whenever we can get fabrics, I have a couple of shirts here that I've made. I try to make them up as quickly as possible. Now, you know, Mrs. Thane, since I know you can sew, perhaps you might want to make your husband a new shirt or even yourself a dress.
That looks like very good fabric.
It's only $1 a yard. Now, I know that's way more than you would pay in the East. In the East, it's maybe 10 cents a yard. But think about how long it took to get here and the shipping cost involved. So you realize that we have to include all those things in the prices. One thing that men are always asking about is bread. They want bread, they want pies. That's why I sell a lot of dried apples, is so people can make pies. But when there is flour, bread is a big seller, because it's a taste of home for them. It's not something that they can make themselves usually. And we don't have a bakery in Coloma, so if we can bring up a few loaves of bread. Those go for a high price.
So will you make pies as well as bread, or?
I have. I made so many dried apple pies on the way here to California that personally I am sick of them. But if people want them, I can make them.
And what would you use the pumpkin for? How would you cook that?
Excuse me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it up into chunks, scrape out the seeds, and then boil it. And once it's boiled and soft, like a soft potato, then you mash it up and you mix it with some cream and eggs, and you can make a pumpkin pie.
Yum.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that.
So one of our classes would like to know, do you sell candy or sweets?
No, I'm sorry. We just don't have any. We did have some rock candy, but that went very quickly. The chocolate is a sweet.
That's true.
But I wouldn't eat that chocolate just as it is. You'd use that for making hot cocoa or for making a chocolate cake or something like that, because it's very bitter the way it is now. It doesn't have any sugar in it.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
Well, as I said, I do a lot of sewing. So one of the advantages of being the storekeeper's wife is I get first choice on all the fabrics that come into the store.
And then one of our last questions, somebody wants to know a little bit more about scurvy.
Well, all I know is what I've been told. Fortunately, I've never had it. But my understanding is that if you don't get enough fresh vegetables or things that have a lot of acid in them, like pickles or lemons or limes or something like that, if you don't get enough of that in your body, then you can get very ill. People will, as I said, their teeth get loose, their joints get loose, they just can't do anything except lay there and moan. You can get better though, you know, if you can get some fresh vegetables, some pickles or something along those lines, you can get better. Onions are good as well. That's another thing that are good for scurvy is onions. I've seen men pick up an onion and just take a big bite out of it.
When did you come to Coloma?
Well, actually, I've been in California quite a while. My husband and I came in 1845 on a wagon train, and when we got to California, we went to Sutter's Fort, as most everyone did, and we were there up until shortly after gold was discovered. And once the word got out, my husband had been working as a storekeeper there inside the fort itself, so he decided that it'd be a good time then to move to our store to Sacramento City, which was just growing at that time along the Sacramento River. So we went down there and he built a building to have our store in, and then excuse me, once more and more people started coming through Sacramento City and Sutter's Fort and coming up here to the mountains, we thought, maybe we should have a store up there. So my husband came up last year in 49, at the end of 49, and looked around and thought, there's enough people here, we could make a go of this. So he came back down, and in the spring we came up here and brought a wagon load of our personal goods and a wagon load of supplies and set up the store, and business has been wonderful.
Do you ever have thoughts of going back?
No, I don't. We're from Boston, and when we first talked about coming to California, it was only because my son and daughter both wanted to come to California. My daughter's husband wanted to go to California. He didn't see a future there in Boston because all the good businesses were spoken for. So they decided they wanted to come to California. I said, well, I'm not going to be left behind when my two children and future grandchildren have left. So we decided to come to California as well. And you know, my husband had been doing some business with traders from California, because the ships would go around the southern end of South America and come up to California and do the hide and tallow trade. So he'd been dealing with them through our store in Boston. So we thought, well, I know a little bit about the country. So we decided to come by wagon because I get terribly seasick. And I told him, if you want me to survive this journey, we're going to have to go by land. And now that I've done that journey by land, I don't want to go back again. And I'm not going to get on a ship and go south. So I think I'm staying in California.
All right, I think we have, oh, a couple more questions. How many customers do you get per day?
Oh my goodness. Well, we get more on Sundays because all the men are working very hard at their claims all the rest of the week. Sunday, most of them take a day of rest and they'll come into town and buy what supplies they need. During the week, we'll get maybe a dozen or more people who are living in town who will come in to buy things.
All right. Anybody else have any last questions? I think Mrs. Talbot has answered all of our questions.
Well, now you all come back when you have gold dust to spend, and I'd be more than happy to help you with your purchases.
Well, thank you for talking with us today, Mrs. Talbot.
It was my pleasure.
All right, I'm going to switch it back. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you learned a lot about the prices during the gold rush, items for sale, things that were hard to get up here in Coloma. And the reason they were hard was the way they came, how long they took to get here. So we are so excited to continue this afternoon. We will see you guys back at 1 and 2 o'clock. 1 o'clock, we're going to learn about the long tom and some of mining techniques. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to go down to the river, see our mining encampment, and see if anybody struck it rich. So join us again. Thank you for joining us now. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.